The Bearcats are with us. They will play Nevada tomorrow at 5:10 Central Time, the first of 2 games in a doubleheader. As mentioned, Jacob Evans III, Gary Clark, Kyle Washington are with us, and we will go right to questions. And we'll start right there. Thank you.
Matt Kesters, UC Magazine. Just wanted to get your reaction to Virginia's defeat last night.
We'll start with Kyle and then get Jacob's answer.
I think it's one of the biggest upsets in sports history, honestly. But, I mean, it was just crazy. You know, Tony Bennett's a great coach and a great person, you know, playing against Virginia in the ACC. And then, you know, they're a great program. So it was pretty shocking, honestly. But, you know, Jarius Lyles and UMBC, they did a great job. And they competed, and that's what the tournament's about. And, you know, that's what basketball is about. I feel like if you believe in anything, if you believe that you can achieve anything, then you could do it. I mean, it sounds cliche, but I mean, I believe it.
It just shows that in this tournament that every team that's in it is pretty good. You know, no matter what the seeding is or what the record was with the 16-1, you just got to make sure you're always ready to come out and play.
Therese Walker, Associated Press. With that being said, you're now the highest seed in the South region. Is the target now maybe transfer to your back, and how do you have to make sure you respond to that?
Gary?
You know, you can agree with that. You know, being that our defense is, you know, that they say defense win championships. So, you know, with that us being so good on defense, I think a lot of teams will probably be, you know, keying having like such a good game to where they can't make mistakes because they know we'll, you know, capitalize on that. So, you know, you wonder why teams, you know, have such good halves where guys hitting 5 or 7 threes against us, and it goes to show that, you know, their scout report is, you know, you can't make mistakes and just try to get buckets.
Bill Cook from GoBearcats.com. Kyle, can you talk about your relationship with the Martin twins from your days at North Carolina State and what kind of players you think they are? What problems do they present?
No, I don't want to hype them up too much, but they are great players, and they're competitors. They play extremely hard, and they're fierce. So, you know, I have a great relationship with them. You know, I'm not going to hide it. I'm not going to deny it. But that's not going to translate when we get into 94 feet. You know, I'm going to compete against them like anybody else, you know, because we're trying to achieve something as a team. But, you know, we're extremely close. We were talking during the season. They changed that program over at Nevada, and I'm happy for them because, you know, they've been through a lot, and I'm just happy to see their success. But, you know, we're going to compete hard against them no matter what.
Yeah, Chris Johnson, Sports Illustrated. I guess this is for all of you guys, but what do you, I guess, in what you've seen so far, what does Nevada do particularly well, and how can you combat that?
Jacob and Gary in that order, please.
Well, they score the ball. They're a high efficiency offensive team. They can push the ball in transition with either 5 guys on the court, and they have shooters. You know, even 1 through 5, everyone can shoot the ball, and that's real dangerous when you also have guys that can attack you off the dribble.
I agree with what Jacob said. They spread you out, and, you know, everyone can make a play or make a shot to where, you know, they really can hurt you. And being that all 5 guys push the ball, you got to be on high alert at all times. You know, one guy can't run back and just guard their man. Everybody got to get back and, you know, get set up because they're shooters, shoot from deep, and none of them have really a slow trigger. They're looking to get it up fast.
Down here to the left, gentlemen.
For any of you guys, 5'10" point guard, Nevada measures 6'7" across, you know, all 5 spots. Would you expect them to maybe do a little post up on your smaller guy?
Jacob?
Well, we've seen that over the course of the year. Teams try to post our point guards up, but we're game planning for it, you know, so, preparing for what comes that way.
Shannon Russell, The Athletic. Kyle, were you closer to one of the Martin brothers than the other? And what do you think about the fact you guys played together on a Sweet 16 team and now you're playing each other for the right to go to the Sweet 16?
I think it's just funny how the world works, how it just all comes full circle. But, no, I told my best friend on the team, I said, I'm not going to be able to tell the difference when they came in the first, day or so. But, you know, they're very different, the two. But, you know, I was just as close as one with the other. So, you know, like I said, we're going to compete hard, and if people know me the way they know me, then it doesn't matter who you are. I'm going to compete against them as hard as I compete against anybody else.
Jeff Wallner, WCPO.com. Gary, you mentioned defense wins championships, and there are those that say that Virginia's style of play, relying so heavily on the defensive end, is a style that's a little precarious in the NCAA tournament. There are those who say you need to score to be successful in the NCAA tournament. Where's that balance for you, and what do you think? Where is that defensive offensive balance for you in terms of success in the tournament?
I think our team being versatile defensively, adapting to whatever teams throw at us. Like, all year we've seen different things as far as teams throwing at us with, no post guys or, having one dominant post guy. So, we have to turn our defense into offense, and a lot of times it doesn't work that way, and where we have to score the ball, on the offensive end. So I think we just, as a unit, we recognize what we have to do that night and just get it done.
Terry Nelson, something on WWW. Does this team remind you a lot of SMU with their length and the fact that they play a limited amount of players?
Jacob first, then Gary, please.
Yeah, most definitely, because they only play 6 or 7 guys, and they're really close. They have great chemistry on the court, and also they can attack you different ways on offense. How SMU was last year, and they cause matchup problems 1 through 5. But we're going to prepare for them and be ready to play tomorrow.
Yes, definitely. They spread us out. You think you try to wear them down because they only have 6 guys, but they're so used to it all year playing that way, to where they make adjustments, and they try not to foul. But SMU last year definitely was one of those, just like this team, where everyone could kill you on any position, and just cause terrible matchup problems, offensive rebounding, and it all just spreading you out gives them several different weapons they can use.
Yeah, I'm Chuck Culpepper from the Washington Post. All 3 of you came to Cincinnati from elsewhere. I wonder if you could describe, or maybe play tour guide, what it's like as a basketball city, what it's like to live with the 2 big programs right there next to each other, and so on.
Kyle, you'll start, then Gary and Jacob, work your way down here, please.
I think it's interesting. Xavier's obviously a pretty good basketball program also. But I just think that Cincinnati as a city loves basketball, and they embrace the college atmosphere and the 2 programs and 2 styles, 2 different cultures. So I think it's interesting,
Yeah, definitely. I didn't realize the exact the intensity between the 2. Being from Carolina, you have the Duke, Carolina, and NC State, and you don't really see much of it unless you're born into one of those homes. But it's intense. The city loves the rivalry. It's like split right in the middle of some households, and it's funny to hear one brother say you see the other player, like brother says Zave, but you live for the rivalry.
Honestly, coming from Louisiana, it's just exciting to see fans around the city and that actually like basketball. Basketball is not a big sport where I'm from, so just having people that's interested is great for me.
Bill Cook from GoBearcats.com. Mick likes to talk about your program as a developmental program. He doesn't get a lot of one-and-done guys. He likes to bring players in and develop them. And Gary and Jacob, you've been there the longest. Can you talk about what it's like to be in a program like that? Do you take pride in that? And what you think that means?
Jacob first, please.
Most definitely, just showing how much your hard work pays off year after year. Is actually, it just helps you grow as a player, and once you see that improvement coming from your hard work, it just makes you want to keep working hard and keep getting better as a player.
Definitely, every year to see the development I was going through. You know, it was tough sometimes, but I think, you know, now as a senior, I really get to – I'm glad I stayed the course. You know, I talked to our young guys, Keith and Trevor, about, you know, how important it is to, you know, every summer to really lock in. And I'm talking to Trevor now about playing with confidence and just never get discouraged and just constantly just keep working at it. And I just can't be more thankful that I had coaches that every summer constantly just show me film and it just get me develop my game.
We have 5 minutes to go. We have 3 questions up. 1, 2, 3, go.
Speaking of development, just talk about the progress that Jaren's made this year. He had an amazing game yesterday.
Kyle?
Jaren has always been a great player. From his freshman year, he's had impact games. You know, whenever he had his chance and whenever we needed it, he was always there. So, you know, Jaren, the sky's the limit for him. And going off of Gary's point, we just kind of keep on reinforce the idea of keep on working hard. Don't worry about adversity. Keep on striving, because you know they're going to be great. But Ted, you know, sky's the limit for him. I love him.
Just to follow up on the developmental thing, do you think that's good for college basketball to have more programs like that, given some of the things that are going on now across the country? Is it good for the game?
Who would you like to answer that?
Kyle and Gary.
Kyle and Gary, go ahead, please.
Do I think development is good for the game in college? Yeah, I think it is, for sure, because sometimes people want instant success. Some people want that overnight success, but sometimes when you want something great, it's going to take a long time. And you're going to have to put a lot of time into it, and you're going to have to make a lot of sacrifice. But at the end of the day, I think it'll be more – the long-term gratification will be more satisfying, honestly. And, you know, just to stick with something and for people to see examples of it, because sometimes people aren't going to wake up and just be a #1 pick. So, I mean, I like it.
Yeah, I agree. You know, I talk to our guys about, you know, running your own race and, you know, not getting discouraged when you see your other guys that you played against or killed against and just see them going one and done. And it can get really discouraging each year seeing those guys making their dreams come true. And you just got to focus on yours. And it's definitely good for the game because it just shows other guys that, you know, just because it didn't take 1 year for him to get it. He take 4 years, and then, you know, look at his career that he's had the 4 years and not just 1 year and out.
For Gary and Jacob, a hallmark of this team is you guys don't get too high during a game or too low. You're very even-keeled. What do you attribute that to? Is it your personalities? Is it your coach? Is it the way the program is set up? And how has it served you this year?
Jacob, lead us off, please.
Well, you know, the game, it's a long game. Coach preaches that to us all the time. He tells us teams are going to go on their runs, we're going to go on ours, but we just have to make sure that at the end of the game that we're winning. So no matter what happens during the game, we just try to stay focused, stay locked in on our game plan, and make sure we're doing the right things offensively and defensively.
I said it yesterday in one of the interviews, just, you know, a team can't be hot the whole game, you know, whether they start off hot or in the second half hot. You know, you just got to waver the storm. And I think it comes from just, you know, coach constantly telling us, like, play defense and rebound. And all else will just come full circle for us. And typically we do that. And whether we're down 18 when we're home against Houston or, you know, up and lose a lead, we just constantly just kind of keep digging at it. And eventually, you know, we'll be, you know, successful.
I guess this would be for any of you guys, but between Virginia losing, Arizona going down, Miami also being upset, it seems like the South region in general is kind of opening up for you. Is it hard for you guys not to look ahead and sort of say, yeah, you know, there's potential here for us to advance pretty far in this tournament?
Kyle, please.
I think the point you're alluding to is like looking past this game. I think if you look past anything, you could fall short. And in this tournament, you don't get a second chance. So if we look past Nevada, that would be our first mistake before stepping on the court. So we're definitely not looking past Nevada. And like I said before, the benefit of going to Cincinnati is we're going to prepare for everybody like it's a round of 32 game. We've been preparing for people. We've been preparing for Western Carolina earlier in the season before anybody was, you know, talking about this. So that's the benefit of going here. We're not going to overlook anybody, and we're not going to underestimate our competition.
Hi, Bill Potter with The American. Guys, I don't know if you're aware of the phrase on social media, Gary Clark is a problem, but just curious for Kyle and Jacob, what makes Gary a problem? And then if Gary could talk about that as well.
Jacob, please.
Well, you know, he can do everything on the court. Pass, score, rebound, defend. He's a great leader. He leads with he's not that vocal all the time, but he'll tell you when you need to step it up. But he also leads by example, you know. So just him being a problem in all phases of the game, you know, I could definitely say that statement is true.
Yeah, I mean, Gary Clark has done so much for this program. I mean, people could say it, but then they don't fully understand the aspect of that idea and that statement because, you know, first of all, he has meat cleavers at the end of his wrists, and he jumps out the gym. And his defensive IQ is, you know, his IQ for basketball in general is out the roof. So, and he's just a great leader. We understood, you know, the three of us and the rest of our team understood what it took for us to be good and for us to keep on making big strides. But he was one of the catalysts for it. He understood what it took. He's been here the whole time, and I'm just glad for him. I'm just glad to see all the success that he has. He deserves all of it.
I think when I hear it, or, you know, the first thing I think about is rebounding and defense. When people, the scoring is cool and all, but I think when I'm really a problem is when I'm blocking shots, rebounding, and just dominating on the defensive end in any aspect. I think one of my favorite plays would probably be at Memphis when I fell and got back up, and I was like, okay. Like, that's when I realized, okay, I play defense pretty hard. And I think that's when you say Gary Clark's a problem, I usually tend to just rebound and blocking shots and just dominate.
Okay, gentlemen, thank you very much. That was wonderful. Good luck tomorrow. Head coach of the Bearcats is here, Mick Cronin. We're going to ask him to start off with a statement in the between days session here. Then we'll go to questions. Mick, please.
Well, happy St. Patrick's Day to all my Irish friends out there, Terry Nelson. Anybody streaming this back home, make sure you go to Salem Gardens. It's the best Irish place on the east side. Obviously, we're happy to still be playing, but focused on Nevada. I hope my guys said their name right. I tried to tell them that it's Nevada. Eric's a great coach, has been for a long time, and they're a veteran team that's 9th in the nation in offensive efficiency. So they present a tremendous challenge as far as their offense. You know, they spread you out. They can really pass. It's a mark of great coaching when you watch a guy's team play and they pass the ball the way Eric's team passes the ball. And it's impressive. Obviously, they have shot makers, and they compete. They get veteran guys because of the transfers and the sit-out stuff. They're an older team, and I think that for most of us, we have to be older to win. We don't get the one-and-done guys. So they're really good. The impressive comeback yesterday that did not surprise me at all because of the resolve of their team. You know, they're a team built on competitive toughness. So I watched them closely, just never give in. You could just see that they just would not give. They would not give an inch. They would not back down. They just kept digging in until they finally got some shots to fall. And once they got some shots to fall, then they were able to keep grinding and get enough stops to win the game. So I expect an extremely hard-fought game with them.
Teresa Walker, the Associated Press. At this point, Virginia's gone, Miami, Arizona. Do you look at how open this region suddenly is, or do you use Virginia maybe as a cautionary tale for your players before tomorrow?
I say this with all due respect. I think every region is open every year, whether we're an 8 seed, a 6 seed. Everybody puts their pants and shoes on the same way. I try to build my program not to take a back seat to anybody, and I try to teach my kids that all of them may not hear this growing up, but they're going to hear it from me, that they can be whatever they want to be, whatever they're willing to work to be, and they should turn off the TV. People are going to tell them whether they can win or not, or how good they are. It's irrelevant if you let that stuff affect you. So I feel bad for teams that lost, but other than that, it doesn't really mean any. We won't talk about that. We're worried about Nevada. That's all that matters. We don't beat Nevada. Whatever happened at some other site is completely irrelevant to us. And I say that with, I hold Virginia in high reverence because of their defensive numbers, and they have one of the classiest coaches in the country. But that being said, my point to you is we always think that we can win the tournament. We always think that we can win the game, no matter who we're playing, so.
Bill Cook from GoBearcats.com. Mick, you alluded to that just a second ago about having to have older guys to win, and you've talked about your program as a developmental program. Can you elaborate on that a little bit? Is that a conscious decision you made when you got the job that you were going to have to approach it that way? And do you think it's good for college basketball to have those programs given what's going on in the country now?
Well, I don't want to bore people, but when I got the job, we had no players, old or young. But I think you got whatever you have when you get a job, you got to understand the demographic of your situation, of the 99 percentile. Obviously, we got Lance Stevenson, but we got him really late because the Blue Bloods didn't take him. You got to figure out who you can get, and then you got to figure out who you can get that you can win with, and what is your pathway to success. And if you get away from it, there's plenty of examples of people that maybe stayed on it, then got away from it and lost their success, and they had to get back to it. So we have to develop players. It's just really who we are. Doesn't mean we don't try to recruit a lot of guys. Luke Kennard's in the NBA, played 2 years at Duke. He's from 45 minutes north of Cincinnati. We tried hard to get him. It wasn't going to happen. It was what it was. Instead, we got a guy named Jacob Evans. So sometimes you win because you get a guy for 4 years instead of 2. But there's a lot of decisions to be made when you're running a program, and I think that you got to have a mix. It doesn't mean that we wouldn't like to get a guy like Marvin Bagley. So you get the best guys you can get that are going to help you win games, and you got to make them better players. My message to all those one-year guys is we're pretty good at development. We have to develop players. Give us a shot. Imagine what you could do with Larry Davis working you out every day. I mean, look at the guy. He looks like he's 27. He's 62.
Yeah, Chuck Culpepper from the Washington Post. We're here in Nashville with 2 large Cincinnati-based programs here. I wonder if you could play tour guide for a bit and explain what you think distinguishes and characterizes the city of Cincinnati among the basketball places that you've been.
I haven't been that far because I went a little south to Louisville and a little further south to Murray State. So, I wouldn't just say Cincinnati. For the people in college basketball, there's Tobacco Road, but the NBA scouts would tell you they fly to Cincinnati because you can stay downtown Cincinnati and go see Cincinnati and Xavier practice. Then you can drive to Louisville and Kentucky. And next day you can drive back, and then you go to Ohio State and Indiana. Dayton's got tremendous basketball history. And I didn't mention Butler. And, so we're in the college basketball elite belt. I mean, it's hard to recruit in our area. There's a lot of big-time programs. Purdue's, 3 hours from us? And you keep throwing them out there. So it's very competitive. It's hard to continue to be good because you have to get some kids from outside the region because it's tough. It's just tough. There's not enough kids for all of us to win. And I would tell you, obviously we both have higher seeds this year, but Cincinnati and Xavier have been good for a long time. But it's not just not just in our city. We're surrounded by it. I would throw this to you. It's just we both have 13 scholarships, and there's only one guy from Ohio on our teams. And Chris and I recruit Ohio. It's just hard. There's a little conference called the Big Ten.
Jeff Warner, WCPO.com. Mick, it's been said in the wake of Virginia's loss that their reliance on defense and one of the best defenses in the country, but their reliance on defense is kind of a precarious way to live in the NCAA tournament, that you need to score to be successful in the tournament. Your thoughts on that?
I don't consider, and I say this, and I'm not trying to be funny, what other people say really doesn't mean anything to me. Unless, like this morning I was talking to Ralph Willard about something that I think Nevada might do strategically to us, because I think he's a retired genius of a basketball coach. Later today I'll talk to Rick Pitino while Kevin Willard's playing, and I'm rooting for Seton Hall. But what people say is irrelevant to me. I think that people want to bang on Virginia. They ought to look at Pittsburgh, because they relied on toughness and defense, and it wasn't enough for them. And they caused a great man to go back to his alma mater, and now TCU was in the NCAA tournament, and Jamie Dixon, one of the best coaches in our game. And I know how Pitt won. Now I was in the Big East with them, and people say, well, I think the NCAA tournament, guys, is a one-game shot, man. It's called March Madness for a reason. So I'm going to start rooting for Tony Bennett now when he's not playing me every game. So I think it's just unfair. You do know that do those people know that he lost one of his best players to an injury? I think that's more important than his style of play. Let's give the other team some credit that played great against them.
We're halfway through. We have 2 questions up. 1 and 2. Go.
Charlie Goldsmith, SB Nation. Nevada goes out with a very perimeter-oriented approach. Are you from? Yes. So.
It's Nevada.
Nevada, okay. Comes out with a very perimeter-oriented approach. Obviously, your front court is a strength, but do you see any situation, and what would be the situation where you would go small with Gary Clark at the 5?
Well, usually when we do that, it would be Trey Scott at that position. We change a lot during a game. Sometimes we go big, and we snuck one in on you where we had Gary at the 3 in the conference tournament for a little bit. We had foul trouble. Jaron Cumberland was in foul trouble, where I was playing Gary, Trey, and Kyle together. So it's just matchups. We try to adjust as we go. They're going to look. Eric's a really good coach, and his pro background they do a good job of figuring out what you're doing and getting the isolation situation that they want. So I think it'll be a game of multiple adjustments. That would only be just one of them. But yes, I could see that happening.
Daryl Moody, Nevada Appeal. Coach.
See how he said Nevada? He's from Nevada.
Two questions for you. One, what did you know about Nevada before the tournament started, and what have you learned since you started to delve into it a little bit?
You mean as a team?
Yes.
Well, I got to watch them, because they play late, and I'm one of those guys. During the season, I'm a basketball guy. Out of the season, I get away, other than July. So I've seen them play games on, they play a lot of CBS Sports Network games. Not focusing in on them, I was like, these guys are a nightmare to play defense against. Just watching them, a lot of high-scoring games. I think they've only scored less than 70 twice this year, which is unbelievable. And then, since doing game prep for them, really impressed with the Martins and their development. They're way better, which is a credit to Eric Musselman and his staff. Way better players than they were. Jordan Caroline, we recruited when he transferred. Way better player than he was at Southern Illinois. And Kendall Stevens. Those are guys that I didn't get to see Hallis a lot. Darren Savino, my assistant, knows Hallis Cook well. They're both St. Anthony's guys. But those four in particular players, I had seen them in high school and at their previous stops. They're way better players. So their player development on those kids has been tremendous. I mean, they're really, really high-level players.
Second question, if I may. How much have teams tried to post up Jennifer a little bit, with, given the 5'10" height?
Not as much as we've prepared for it more than you would think. He and Kane Broom, teams that have tried to post him, are changing defenses. I don't know if a lot of college teams do that. But to be able to post up guards, your other guys got to be able to shoot. So a lot of teams, they can't post up our point guards because their other guys can't shoot. So whoever you take your 5-man, stand him outside the line, we're not going to go out there. So the challenge, what they do a good job of, is when Martin goes to the back down, obviously, Jordan can shoot the ball. So they can go to a spread and a back down and put 4 shooters around their posted up point guard, which you rarely see. SMU is the only team that did it when Shake Milton was healthy. They did it to us when he was healthy. Florida did it a little to us in Newark in a neutral site game. But again, they didn't have the shooters quite. But we've seen it.
Mick, if you could speak to Jaron Cumberland's fearlessness, his tenacity, but also what does he need to do at both ends of the court to take his game to an even higher level?
Well, he's got to learn to eat a salad first. The guys, I mean, if Jay Billis is right and these kids are going to be able to get endorsements, I mean, he's Kraft Mac and Cheese's main man. You never see anything like it. He's not a man of many food groups. It's been a fight, because of his body type. When I recruited him, my pitch wasn't that he was great. I was going to let him shoot every time. He came with us because I sat there and told him what he needed to get better at. He needed to get his body fat down because he's a guard. And he's down, and I'm still fighting with him on the food groups. And he's got to work on his flexibility. His strength's not an issue. So, I have the best guy in the country for that, Mike Rayfeld. So continuing to try to get his body loosened up and his body fat down and just get his conditioning to where he can be a guy that, when we had Sean Kilpatrick as a senior, it's hard to average 21 a game. You got to run around and shoot every ball and not get tired. So conditioning is big, maturity is big. He's made a huge jump, though, from his freshman to his sophomore year. But just continue to develop his body, get his body fat down, his conditioning up, and his ball handling, his left hand. But these are all things I presented to him during his visit. And fortunately, he was somebody that respected that. He wanted coaches that were going to help him get better.
Under 3 minutes to go. Questions right here.
3-minute warning.
Justin Berg, BearcatJournal.com. Coach Nevada, is known for their.
See, I'm getting everybody on this.
the Wolfpack are known for their offense. What challenges does their defense present to you?
Well, I will say, in fairness to a team that scores the ball as well as they do, and they can score it fast, their possessions are higher, so your points per game that you're going to give up is a little higher. But they front the post. They do a lot. They're similar to us in a lot of ways. They scrap, they fight, they front the post, they switch a lot, and their scouting report. They're a scouting report team. All you got to do is watch their bench while you're watching film. They know every play you run. They're going to be sitting all over everything. You're not going to trick them. You're going to have to take whatever they decide to take away from you. You're going to have to use it to your advantage. But their preparation is tremendous, and they got a lot of fight in them. I think, it all starts with Jordan Caroline. He plays so much bigger than he is. So much. That's why we wanted him. We tried to get him when he transferred, because he's got a lot of his dad's traits as far as physical toughness.
Okay, Mick, thank you very much.
Thank you,
Best of
guys.
luck.